Hey everybody, and welcome to today's Office 365 end user training. We appreciate you joining us once again. Today's focus is going to be around security within Teams. And so Tina and Sean are going to be leading us through this. We've had great engagement on these, so we encourage the questions to keep coming in. And you know, if there's something we can't get to today, we'll make sure we take that offline and get back to you. But hopefully we got through all of them, and hopefully you can stick it out with us for the duration of today's webinar, and we look forward to getting started. So Sean, do you want to take it away first?
Yeah, sure. Thanks everyone for joining again. These are meant to be end user experience type trainings. Today we're going to continue that. We've kind of taken a series of events from talking about conferencing tools to sharing of documents. But to make a really long story short, we're going to talk about what happens behind the scenes from a security perspective today, because it is top of mind for a lot of people. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of bad stuff happening in the market right now, whether it's through conferencing tools or just how we're sharing information in and outside of the organization. So understand that what Tina is going to show is how things sort of work when you don't see them working, and hopefully it gives you some feeling of safety there when, ultimately, that things that you're doing outside of the workplace are being moved across the network safely. So Tina, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sean. Again, I just want to thank everybody for participating. We've had a huge turnout for these, and so it's really exciting to be able to share this information with you all. I wanted to also let you guys know that as we were looking through the attendee list today, there's a lot of different types of people that are engaging with us. So we're walking through this from an end user perspective and giving some insight into what you would see if you were using these tools. Some of you might be. And then at the end, we have a dashboard for some of the technical folks that can show you a little bit about what you will be able to see if you were to implement these tools. And so again, we do have one of our architects on the line for our technical folks. If you guys have questions, please feel free. We'd love to hear from you. With that, I'm going to get us started. And we're going to go ahead and start out in Teams. It's where we've been spending a lot of time over the last couple of weeks. So our goal here is to share a file in Teams, and we want to make sure that we are sharing that file securely. So I'm just going to click on Files.
Tina, you actually got to share your Teams with our team. We're not seeing your screen.
My screen? I thought it was already up. You didn't see it?
No, we don't see it.
Ooh, hang on, guys. I'm sorry. Zoom's getting a little funky here. Let's see if I can.
Sounds like you have too many screens to share your screen.
I think I have too many screens open. Okay. Let me know if you can see this.
Yep, we can see it.
Yep, can see it now. Thanks, Tina.
All right, thanks for catching that. You guys missed a nice logo and a castle, but that's okay. We have another one at the end. Okay, so from here, I have clicked into my files, and I want to share this Mark 8 document. Here are my ellipses, right? We talk about these in Teams and throughout the Microsoft Productivity Suite. When I see them, I say click them, because it means there's more options for you. So when I clicked on it, it's going to give me some options on how I want to open this document, and I'm going to go ahead and open it in Word. You're going to see a couple of things here that you may not normally see when you open a Word application. Primarily, I want you to look at the top, and along the top, there's some labels here. So these labels are going to allow me to classify this document. And this document is a proprietary document. It has information for just my organization, so I'm going to classify it as confidential. When I click confidential, two things happen. One, we see that the document has a watermark. So basically anybody that sees that document sees that watermark, and now they know without me having to tell them that this is a confidential document. You're also going to see up here on the left, there's a little blue icon that's giving you a sensitivity category, and that's telling you that this is a confidential document as well. So my next step here is to just go ahead and edit this document, which is why I opened it. And I'm going to make a little comment, put in my edits. And then we can go ahead and close this one out. Now I'm going to email this document. So in order to do that, I'm going to open up my Outlook. So I'm going to create a new email. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the person that I'm going to email. And you're going to see something pop up across the top. So this is an example of how these classifications are working across the platform, not just in Teams, not just in Outlook, but together to help protect this data. And so we're seeing here a little notification that's reminding me that this recipient here is outside of my organization. So I need to be aware of that when I'm sending out proprietary information. So I'm going to go ahead now and send a quick message. Some instruction on what I want done. And then I'm going to go and insert a file. Here's the document that I was working on. So I'm going to attach that. We have a couple other alerts that just popped up. And it's a reminder to me that this is a confidential document. And it's giving me the permissions that I can track and revoke content in this document. I want to go ahead and also add another layer of protection. So I'm going to click up here on the message tab, and then I'm going to add a do not forward protection to this document. So this protection is going to allow me to send this to Brian, but once he gets it, he can't forward this email or this document to anybody else. And it really is even going to stop him from taking a screenshot of the document. So that's going to help me go ahead and add additional protection. And then I'll go ahead and send it off. So those are some of the policies that we can customize and add to documents to make sure that only the information that we want shared is being shared, and also that it's going to the right audience. And this is an example of a bunch of different types of customizations that we can do. We can customize it based on the type of document or the type of information within the document, such as credit card numbers or social security numbers.
Tina, a question came up. Is this only in Word or across other applications?
So the protections that we put on in Teams when we started follow the document into wherever it goes, right? So it's across. It is actually the protection is actually embedded in the document itself. So it doesn't really matter which platform we're using, if we're using the Outlook or if we're using Teams.
And it doesn't matter if it's PowerPoint or Excel, it works across all different types of documents.
Okay. So another thing that we are hearing about a ton right now is there's a lot of spoofing and phishing.
Oop.
In this case, I just received an email from Brian. He's the person that I just sent that document to, so it would make sense that I would just click this link because I know him.
Tina, can you share your screen? It looks like it froze for a second and kicked the screen sharing off.
Oh, thanks.
And a question came up about Zoom rooms. Zoom rooms are available. You just have to actually have the tools, which are some conferencing tools that are physical that sit on your different conference tables, and the different units that help you create those shared rooms or screens.
Let me know if you guys can see my screen. I just reinitiated the share.
Yep, we see the website has been blocked.
Perfect. So all I did was click a link from an email that looked like somebody that I knew, and the tools that we have in place to provide additional security is actually just going to stop me in my tracks. Now, it's not going to completely prevent it. You can see down here, it will tell me that it's not recommended to continue, but I can if I want to. Again, these are settings that your organization can choose on how, you know, how much security you want versus how much autonomy you want for your end users. But because I am not feeling brave about this, it's concerning to me. I'm going to go ahead and not click that link. Okay. We also received another email from Brian, and in this case, we're receiving an attachment. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the attachment. So part of the protections that we have in place today are taking these attachments and scanning them and making sure that they're safe. And if they are safe, I, as the end user, am never even going to know that the security policy is happening and running on the back end. I'm just going to do my job, right? And that's really ideally how security works best in organizations. It's not, the less the end user is impacted, the better off they are, and tends to make people happier. So, you know, this has been scanned and validated that it's a safe attachment for me to interact with. And so when I went to open it, it was no problem. But that security is working on the back end.
Tina, we have a question. So when the desktop on Teams, you know, when you're sharing a document with somebody via Teams and the person is, you know, being shared too, can they do anything else with the, looks like they're asking, like not being able to click on next when doing an install of software. So I think to answer the question is when Tina or whoever's sharing a document, whether it's a Word doc or a PowerPoint or a, you know, PDF and what have you, really any type of software, you can put rights and rules into that document prior to sending it out. So whether it's this document can't be forwarded from you to someone else, downloaded to your desktop, you can only view the document versus quote unquote co-author or read, you know, write onto the document. You have all those permissions set up right inside of the document and or in the team on Microsoft Teams before you get it sent out. So that's really up to you, whoever the author is on the document, to control that, including version history and all of the above.
Okay, so the other little piece that we wanted to share with you today is some of the reporting features for these security and compliance tools. So I just have this in a PowerPoint slide and I open that up for review. Some of the data that you can see is, you know, if you've enabled data loss prevention and there has been any incidents with those policies, that's going to be tracked here. Inbound and outbound malware, there's a dashboard for that. Any of those URLs that are being blocked through that safe links, we saw that when I clicked that link and that did not let me go through. And then you can actually blacklist those so that they are never accessible to your users. Any incidents through advanced threat protection, which is one of the tools that we have enabled in order to share with you how to provide a greater level of security, and then any malware caught in the tenant. So this is a dashboard. We get a lot of people that not only are they looking for added security, but visibility into, you know, what's happening in the environment. And so this is a snapshot for you to be able to see that.
Tina, we have a question, which this is the good one, on when will the Brady Bunch, you know, component come to Teams? So we just got notification today from Microsoft.
Always comes up.
Yeah, so 9 cells, 9, screens across will come up here. They're doing it in rapid mode. They were planning on, I think it's what they would consider their Q1 of Microsoft's new fiscal year. So that's after June 1st. But because of what's went on recently, they're enabling that very quick here. We saw just today, and somebody asked a question earlier about Teams with backgrounds. So just today, Teams implemented backgrounds. Before it was just the blurred image, so you just see your mug. Now it has, you could be in the Mandalorian if you choose, and ultimately have that background behind you. So they're pushing fast to get more, both visual of the people, 9 boxes, and then some as you go down the road, and then also backgrounds that people love those. And I know that in Zoom, my kids go crazy with that. So that is here now if you guys want to try it in Teams.
Awesome. I think our last slide.
And let me comment on that slide real quick there, Tina.
You want me to go back?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're trying to help organizations understand, and because of what's going on with Zoom and Teams and some of the other conferencing tools, is what's happening behind the scenes in a lot of this. And as Tina just showed, this is kind of where you end up, and you can see some of the different data loss prevention policies that happen, threat protection that comes from the outside if there was potential threats. But all of this that you're seeing on the left-hand side, for the IT person, these are policies that you need to put in place for your organization. For the end user, these are things that are happening behind the scenes. As Tina was showing before, whether an email is getting ready to go out and it gives you a warning, or you get what would be considered an advanced threat and you decide that's a person these messages are embedded, or these policies, are embedded inside of your Office suite, your Teams platform, and ultimately they're coming and being handed down from Microsoft Azure as part of your Office 365 subscription. So it's all intertwined between conferencing, Teams, the document management, to give you the security platform that people are looking for.
So on that note, I think my takeaway from this is that as an end user, having these security policies in place aren't going to prevent me from doing my job, but they are going to help keep the organization safer and the information within the organization protected. And I think if we can balance that need for a really secure environment along with enabling end user productivity, we've achieved the right mix when it comes to security in our companies.
Yeah, I love how this just goes across the board. Everything's integrated, so you don't have to worry about different apps having different features or settings turned on. Like everything's just all encompassing and keeps everything tight knit and secure. So
yeah, for any of the Office 365 admins on the phone, if you have not already done it, you go into the admin center and look at some of the different policies you can implement. Super important. And of course, there are tools that you can roll out, from advanced threat protection to multi-factor authentication on those, devices that you have out there. But just things that you probably own or could, very quickly own, I guess, for a few more dollars if you already have Office 365, that we recommend you do. And ultimately, security, as we talk about it, it's sort of this framework, and I always describe it, and I think we had a slide earlier, as sort of, your castle, right? We work inside of our own kingdom, and outside of our castle walls, we have to protect, so to speak, the network. We have to have our moat and our, cannonballs and what have you. And inside, we have to make sure that all the information that travels inside and outside is managed. And so some of those alerts that Tina showed through the email are things that we need to be thinking about. But I can't stress enough, at a high level, looking at things just like they sound, unified threat management. How do you make sure that all things that become threatening to the organization are being seen from a centralized screen? That's super important right now. We're having a lot of work within the world of simulated phishing. So we actually can send out simulated phishing attacks to our own customers, and ultimately just to kind of see who's clicking through what. It's been really impactful to the end user and then also to the organization to see that, the Department of Health is stuff is coming through that looks like real emails that we'd all want to open, and ultimately they're just phishing attacks. So simulating things like that is good to see where the holes are. And then of course, this understanding what we call sort of I call it like your credit score, your security assessment, to see how vulnerable your company is. They're just things that whoever manages your IT should take care of, and just kind of figure out where you stand today in your quote unquote credit score when it pertains to security. Are there any questions that came up? Yeah, a lot of Teams questions keep coming up. So a quick synopsis on Teams. So yes, they're moving to that 9 users, that 9, the Brady Bunch theme, I guess, with 9 people. We'll keep calling it Brady Bunch. They're continuously adding more and more security features. The backgrounds were just put out today, which were really cool. If anybody hasn't used Teams and tried the whiteboard on Teams, it's super unique. It's a way for you to, if you have a touch screen or you have, sort of a pen on your iPad or, on your mobile device, you can be whiteboarding inside of Teams. I highly recommend trying that. And then, using some of the other document platforms that are inside of your Office 365 product, like OneNote, and which we'll do a webinar on or a training here on shortly, or products like Microsoft Planner that you probably own inside of Office 365. Super nice when it comes to collaborating with your users.
Yeah, we actually did have a couple more questions come up. Is Teams CCPA compliant?
Yes, it is. CCPA, HIPAA, NIST. We get a lot of, last year we had a lot of GDPR compliance things. So yes.
And there's a follow-up question to that. Do you have to opt out of data analytics sharing? So I guess meaning sharing back to Microsoft or something like that.
I don't know exactly what the question is, but if data analytics sharing, you mean analytics that, I'm assuming analytics that you're getting on your own organization, can you opt out so that it's not being, seen by someone else? So it is, if that's the question, it is all hosted on Microsoft Azure where that data sits. So ultimately, although there is privacy between you and the Azure cloud per se, it's something that still sits within their ecosystem, but they do have compliance and regulations built around that so they can't see your data. Any other?
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
That's all I'm seeing right now. If anyone has any final questions, we have a couple more minutes to spare.
The only other thing I would mention is if people are still confused by the Microsoft platform of services when it comes to Office 365, I'll just break it out into 3 areas and everybody can think about this. So Microsoft makes productivity software, which good percentage of our companies today own, Office 365. In Office 365, even inside of products like Office, which is that version that you have on your desktop, you have a lot of these security tools. But they also make a platform called EMS, Enterprise Management and Security. It's changed names a bunch. And in that, you have several different, what I'll call security tools that deal with things like threat protection from the outside or mobile device management on your mobile devices, including laptops and desktops. It has products like MFA, multi-factor authentication. So it's a separate product that can be buried into what's called either Microsoft 365, which is sort of their all-encompassing suite of everything, which includes your Windows 10 license, or you could just have Office 365, and they have different versions. But EMS is, if you're interested and you want to go online and look more about their security tools, look at EMS and you'll be able to see it there. We have another question. When desktop is shared via Teams, when the person is being shared, can they only do certain things, like not being able to click next when doing a remote software install?
Not being, I don't know what that question is asking.
Yeah, I think
software install?
I'd like to maybe take that one offline.
Yeah, the only thing I can mention about sharing of your screen is when you are in Teams and you are sharing your screen, the only way that the person on the receiving end can do anything within, say, your shared, screen, like what Tina was showing today, is if she gives you control of the screen, which then you take control of her mouse, and you can navigate through. But other than that, you won't be able to do anything on that user's computer or that host computer to be able to do any type of software installations.
I did pull up the screen share options when you're in Teams, and you can share your desktop or you can share a specific window. You can choose some applications to share, or again, whiteboard, as Sean was mentioning. So you do have some options there in terms of what you want to share.
And then a question that came up, Tina, follow on to that. Are there any limitations? Like once you give me control in Teams, can I essentially, I'll say like this, go nuts on your computer? The answer is you, the poster, Tina in this case, can stop sharing immediately if someone, you know, is doing something malicious. But once they're given control, they're essentially logged onto your desktop. And we see this type of stuff actually happen where I've had customers who have called and we need to fix their computer and there's no other options. So we've actually had them join a Teams meeting and we'll take control of their computer. But, you know, ultimately, you, the host, have options to take back control immediately. Another question that came up is how would you enable or add on, you know, custom whiteboards to the left-hand side of the navigation button? So custom whiteboards, you can rearrange teams. I think Tina showed this a few weeks ago. So your menu over on the side left, you know, can have different things, but typically the whiteboard is inside of a team that you create or inside of a group up at the top right where you'll see the little plus button where you can add the whiteboard feature.
So it sounds like you can add it to channels and pin it to channels, but not necessarily on the left-hand side at this point.
Correct, because the whiteboard technically is meant to fall inside of a team that the organization's created, yes.
Cool, just want to clarify. You have very nice handwriting on your mouse, Tina.
That was for my mouse, so I think I did okay.
One other really cool thing that is coming with Whiteboard is, and I don't know if people have seen it, is sort of a transparent view. So sooner or later in our conference rooms, we're going to be able to be standing in front of an actual whiteboard that's projected on the screen, and you're going to be able to see right through our head, essentially. It does a transparent view and be able to whiteboard, so other people looking at it on the web bridge won't see you in the way if somebody's doing whiteboarding in front of you. It's pretty unique. We thought it was really cool when we saw it. So a neat little feature that's coming out in Teams here.
Yeah, I saw those backgrounds you were talking about, Sean. It looks fun. I have to try them out.
We'll keep you guys posted on some of these questions you guys are asking when things are rolling out. We're trying to stay on top of it and see, because as Sean was talking about, Microsoft is trying to speed up a lot of this stuff since there's a lot more people on Teams and needing a lot more features and function these days. So we'll keep you guys in the loop, but continue to ask those questions because we like to know when that's going on too.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be sending out a recording for you along with some topics for next week's webinar.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.